cloud. Oh, can't believe I actually remember to do that.
Okay.
Now that's recorded.
All right.
Okay.
I'm going to let everybody in.
Okay. Oh, it's so hot in here. I'm dying.
Hi, everybody.
So many familiar faces.
Letting everybody join in.
Steve.
Welcome, everyone. Waiting for a few more people to join in. Maybe for those who are joined in, maybe you want to mute yourself as you join in. Still waiting for a few more people to join.
So is everyone all super excited about Art Walk in the Square? I hope so.
Yeah.
It's going to be a real show now with no COVID protocols, knock wood.
Okay,
Sorry.
I might have muted everybody. Okay,
No, I think, yeah, I did the
mute
same
yourself. You too, Samantha.
thing.
Oh, there we go.
You just had a bit of buzzing.
Yeah.
You want to do a formal welcome and then we'll kick it off?
Yeah, so for people who don't know me, I'm Kate Taylor, the chair of the Artist Network, and super excited that you guys have decided to do Art Walk in the Square. It's one of my personal favorites because I love the fact that it's up in the hood and it's part of the, a very unique outdoor mall space at the CF Shops at Don Mills. So today with us, we've got Samantha Van Helden, who who is our coordinator for the show. I'm sure you will have seen lots and lots of emails from her. And Angela Lane, who is our outdoor show director, as well as the executive director of the Artist Network. So we're going to go through, first of all, we're going to go through some things that are maybe more accessible to everybody in terms of how to market the show and how to actually really leverage your experience at Art Walk in the Square. And then later on, we're going to go through some of the more specific nitty-gritty details. So if you've seen that stuff and you've done this show before, then feel free to kind of leave whenever you're kind of ready to. This is recorded, so we will be sending this out as well. And a lot of the information that's going to be here today is actually also in the handbook. So we're going to move fairly quickly. So if there's stuff that you've missed, don't freak out because it's going to be in the handbook. And so you can always go back at your own leisure and read through it. This is really just designed to help you understand what is in the handbook and any specific things that we need clarification on. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we will kind of go through that chat when we can. And at the end, we will definitely leave some room for questions. So take it away.
All right. I'm going to start our presentation. Let me just share my screen. And 1 second. Let me make this. Oh.
Yeah, so while
Sorry.
Samantha's putting that in presenter mode, I just wanted to welcome everybody as well. And just a note for some people, there are some artists who are just online artists. So again, once we get into the logistics of the in-person site, you're welcome to drop off the orientation. And again, so we're just it might be a little bit out of order for some people, but we're just trying to cover off everything that makes sense for everybody. And then we'll talk about the in-person content.
Sorry, 1 second.
By a raise of hands, how many people are online only on this call? Do we know? Or maybe put in the chat, you're an online artist, just so that we know. And or if you're new to our shows in general, we've done lots of orientations for Art Walk in the Square and Riverdale Art Walk in the past. Have you not done a show with us? Put your hand up or just put in the chat that you're new. You're new. I see some new faces here, so that's awesome. And I'm glad you're able to join us today. So don't be afraid to ask questions in the chat or put your hand up. We'll try to answer them as we go through.
Okay.
New and excited, yay.
Yay.
Helene, and Agnes, first time. Elsa, new. Neha, new. It's great to see new artists. That's great. All right, Samantha, do you want to?
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I've got it working now. Okay, so welcome to the orientation for Art Walk in the Square. We here just have our agenda. So like Kate said, we're going to start with our marketing section and then go on to some stuff about Eventany, the online platform. I'm sure some people have questions about that. So we'll go through a little run through of the profile and how to use it. And then we're going to move on to the logistics for in-person. So if you are an online artist, you might not need to stay for all of that. So feel free to head out after the Eventany if you would like, but you're welcome to stay for the whole thing. So we'll go through the dates, the map, our load in and load out process, and then just some logistics about booths, how to display your booth, hang all your art, stuff like that. And then we have some information. Oh, does someone have a question or?
So for anybody joining in, there's some new people joining in. Oh. Just please turn your
just mute yourself.
Yeah, just mute yourself.
Yeah, and then we're going to finish off with a section about how to sell your work and just some extra tips for on-site and payments and things like that. So we're going to start with marketing. So here we just have our homepage of the Art Walk in the Square website. So we have the dates all right there. It's in person, September 16th, 17th, and 18th. And then we have the online show continuing on until September 25th. This is our Eventany page for the event. So this is how guests will see the site. So it has just an overview, some photos. All of the dates and information are there below. And then there is the marketplace section as well, which is where all of the artist profiles will be. It's not showing yet because not everyone's profile will be ready to go. And so that will go live on the date that the show starts, September 16th. The marketplace section will go live with all of your profiles, which will link to your Eventany shops.
Hey, Samantha, can you scoot back to the slide right before this?
Yep.
So you'll see it says artist galleries up there on the top header. So prior to the show, people can view the artists that are in the show by clicking on the artist gallery. So just a hand up here that if you haven't created your artist profile in that gallery, please do that, because so your name will show up and everything. But if you haven't uploaded images or your bio or a link to your website or your social, it won't be in there. So you'll need to make sure that you go in there. There is an info document sent out to all the artists. And as well, you would have got an invite through the system. But if you can't find that invite, you can't find that info document, just click on the artist gallery, log in. If you don't have and then ask Samantha if you need the info document on all the steps to take to get that.
I sent it out, so you should have it in an email from last week, I believe. I attached it to there, so you should have that info doc, but I can always resend it if you can't find it for some reason.
And then I resent invites out, I think the week before that or the week before that, can't remember.
And if you are a returning artist from Riverdale Art Walk, or if you are an Art Walk or Artist Network member, then your profile will already be there. It'll carry over from other shows.
If they created your profile.
If you did your profile, yes.
If you created your member profile or a profile for Riverdale Art Walk, it's all one profile. So as an artist, you have one profile that shows up in all those places.
Yeah, but you can still make changes to it if you'd like to update it or edit it.
Yes, and at any time, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that was the Eventany page. And then this is a little preview of that gallery that we're just talking about. So bunch of the artists are already showing up there. And then if you haven't created your profile, you'll still be there if you scroll down, like Angela said, but it'll just be, there won't be an image there. It'll just show your name. So for marketing, we will have postcards coming. We're just in the process of getting those printed, so we will have that information once they are ready and available for pickup. I'll send out an email and put it in the handbook as well with the locations for pickup. It will be at the Artist Network downtown. You can pick them up, or we'll hopefully have some other locations uptown for people to pick those up.
Yeah, and just as a note, we do still have some of these postcards left, right?
Yeah, the
So
ones from-
this just showcases 2 shows, but if you are doing a show in the interim, you're welcome to go pick up these cards or use these cards, because Art Walk in the Square is presented on this postcard as well.
Yes. Okay, Angela, do you want to go through the marketing packages?
Sure. For those who have been in our shows before, will know that we often do artist marketing package. So this is another feature. We really encourage you to leverage this show in many different ways to promote yourself as an artist. And one way you can do that is by purchasing a marketing package. And the Artist Network does a really great job of trying to share and post content that artists share and tag us in. But another way we do that is to create our own images and make sure that you're part of a particular marketing package. And there's 2 different levels. So package 1, basically we'll share an image of your work across multiple platforms. So you would need to send us a Square image that we can use. And most of this is done on Instagram. So we'll do 2 Instagram stories. It'll be in our email blast. It'll be part of an Instagram carousel with other artists. And then it will also be part of our paid Facebook and Instagram ad campaign. Do you want to scoot to the next? So the other package includes everything in that first package. This fee is much higher. It's a maximum of 10 opportunities. This includes everything that we just talked about, but also includes being part of our digital ad campaign, our paid digital ad campaign in the Globe and Mail, as well as Blog.to. And all this detailed information with the impressions and how you'll be featured and stuff is in the Artist Handbook. Samantha, correct?
I have to just upload it in there, but it's going to be in there very shortly. Tomorrow
Okay,
it'll be
awesome.
available.
And again, it will be sharing out that creative. We'll also be doing, on top of that, you have the opportunity to do an Instagram live interview that we'll share across our social platforms as well. And then you'll also be profiled in the Eventini highlight section. And I was able to do that on the Riverdale Art Walk homepage as well. And I'll probably do that for the Art Walk in the Square homepage as well. I just need a wide enough image. So if you give me the right images, I'll be able to get you in the headers on our web pages as well.
Perfect. All right.
So this is another awesome opportunity. Kate, do you want to chat about it? The Aug.10 program?
Sure. So Our Game Art is it's totally volunteer. A lot of this stuff, I just want to reiterate, like Angela said, the Artist Network puts a lot of money and time and energy into promoting this show. So if you choose to do none of these things, you will still get exposure. But I think that it's one of those things that the more you can kind of get yourself out there within promoting your own stuff, then the better off you'll be. I Gave Art is an opportunity to donate a piece of your art to the I Gave Art table. We use this as actually a way to generate names for a mailing list. And so people can put their names in the mailing list and they have a chance of winning one of your pieces of art. So you get exposure on the website. We usually focus on it through Instagram. And there is actually a space on site at Art Walk in the Square where people can go and they can take a look at the art that also connects to your booth number. So you can also drive people to your booth from there. So I always do this personally. And I also give people the opportunity of trading it out if they want to. But I think it's a great way of getting a little bit of free marketing on site.
Perfect. And this is already up on the Artist Handbook, so you can sign up for this. You just have to fill out a form, upload the image of the piece of art that you're donating, and then we will also upload that onto the Art Walk in the Square website. So it'll display all of the artists that have donated leading up to the show, and visitors can go on the website there. They can also fill out an online ballot for the draw, as well as in person at the show. And we're going to have a booth where we will display all of the pieces of art that are donated. So throughout the show, people can walk through and look at them.
Yeah, and we have had online artists who are just doing the show online. also donate work. So that's also an opportunity for you. We can only present the artwork if you drop it off the Artist Network. We'll put it in the show in person, but you can post it. It's still your opportunity to present yourself as an artist and to get people to kind of follow us and follow you. And so we do often do that as well. Sorry, Dave is just trying to get in, somebody else trying to get in. So I just want to say you can also participate because the art is also featured on our website and it stays up all year.
Yep. And then we also post the winners of the art on the website afterwards. So once all the images are there, we'll upload the names of the winners after the show. Okay. Newsletter. Angela, do you want to go through this?
Sure. So I guess just like we talked about, we use the I Gave Art for the Artist Network to develop their email list and for our marketing for all of our programs and shows. Your email list is gold as well. And so one way that you can really market yourself for the show is sending out a newsletter that you're participating in the show, making sure that you are always asking people to enter your email list and your newsletters. Really, you should be communicating a number of times and including the show in your emails that go out. I think some people use email marketing, like they say you should send out a minimum of one a month. I don't always get mine done, but I try to do that, or one for every show that I'm doing. But if you can start to do that, you can kind of build the energy and let your audience know that you're participating in this show. You can talk about what's happening, highlight your work. I often do that show, the overall show, some pieces of my work, and also highlight other people that I'm part of a bigger show, that there's something there for everybody. Because as we know, Kate always says, Kate, what do you say?
A rising tide floats all boats.
Hey. Yeah. Because we know if there's a buyer that buys your work one time, they're going to buy somebody else's maybe another time. They might come back to you and vice versa. And that's how we all help promote each other and build the show together. This says tent tour included in the map, but we're not doing a tent tour as part of this show. I think that that's just from another show, but just really prepare ahead of time and make sure that you can actually create your newsletters way in advance so that they're going out at the right time.
Okay. And then on Instagram as well, we have the graphics these are all available on the Artist Handbook, so you can download them there. So there's customizable ones where you can put in an image of your own art. You all were sent this, I am officially part of the ArtWalk with your acceptance letter. And then if you want to follow all of the Artist Network socials, so we have the ArtWalk Square for this show, the hashtag ArtWalk Square, and then also hashtag I Gave Art if you're participating in that draw. And then if you tag Artist Network and tag ArtWalk and Square, we can repost your stories and your posts.
So just a note here, Samantha said, follow all of our channels. And I think this is a really important note. So not only do we have ArtWalk in the Square, we also have Riverdale ArtWalk and we have Artist Network 1. So in the handbook, you'll see links to all those different handles in Instagram as well as Facebook. And we ask you to please follow all of those because we post along all those different channels and in all those different ways we promote this show. So make sure that you're following all of us, and then you can retag and repost our posts. That's a great way to get additional features and kind of people following you as well. And then I think there also are YouTube channels on there, and I can ask if you could please also just follow our YouTube channels because we often put our artist interviews up on there and little short video clips of the show, and you can share those out as well.
And all of that is linked in the Artist Handbook, all of the channels and the accounts to follow. And then Angela, can you go through this?
Sure. Kate, do you want to chat a little bit about this?
Yeah, so some of this is just kind of basic Instagram protocols. So first of all, you kind of want to sort of definitely manage your 9 within your feed to make sure that you're showcasing your art, you're showcasing yourself. People do love to see within Instagram the process that goes behind the scenes of artists. So, you know, any sort of reels or whatever that you can post that talk about like how you're working or what your end result is, or packing the car. People seem to love the car packed image. So use those things and really try and think about posting. Ideally, it's great if you can post once a day. I appreciate for a lot of people, that's a lot. So one of the things that I personally do is I take a whole bunch of photographs on stuff and I just kind of have those things available to be able to post when I'm available. Reels are going to get you the most notice and the most awareness. And so to do a reel, you can kind of pull music that's already existing. I do my reels in InShot and then create them in Instagram, but you can also then upload them right directly into Instagram. And one of the key things is to really make sure you use your hashtags. So I would say at least 15, you can do up to 30 hashtags. That's a lot. I would say at least 15 hashtags you want to use. If you are doing your reels and you're post sharing to the stories, please make sure you tag the Artist Network. And that would be the @ArtWalk Square, not hashtag ArtWalk Square. That way we get the notification. It's also really easy for us to automatically share those stories back. So you get that exposure. It's a really great thing to be able to help promote other artists as well. So, you know, if I see a piece of Angela's that I really love, then I might post that and say, hey, don't forget, check out Angela's work. She's going to be at ArtWalk in the Square. And that really helps to kind of broaden the network that you get exposed to.
Yeah, and I think I just like to add on there, also comment on each other's. And I think we use a 5-word minimum comment, right, Kate?
Yeah.
And that helps the algorithms as well on other people's Instagram accounts as well as your own. So it's really good to make sure you comment back and engage. So what you're doing is just telling a story and you're building relationships. And you just need to do that for other artists as well as yourself.
Yeah. And, you know, I think it's about being authentic, you know, like if the whole craze is to do a TikTok dance and that's just not really you, then don't do that. Like do things that are authentic to you, that reflect your personality and your brand. That's kind of really the most important part.
And then just for Facebook, we have the graphic as well. So it'll fit on your Facebook header. This is on the handbook as well to download. You can follow or add the Facebook page here, ArtWalk Square. And then just connect that way.
So within Facebook too, it's really good. We will do an event where you can share that event, but also putting the event on your own Facebook page is important. Often people that are following Facebook are different from people who are following Instagram. So even if you have your Instagram posts go directly to your Facebook page, it's also nice to go in and actually comment and create individual Facebook links as well. It's important to recognize too that a lot of people who will see your stuff on Instagram and Facebook who are art collectors are not necessarily the ones that are going to tag and comment and post. So even though it might feel like all the comments are going to be from other artists, there are people that see that work and they follow your Instagram and Facebook posts, and they do take notice of stuff, even if they don't necessarily comment.
Yeah, I had that at just a recent show. One of my Instagram followers came up and she says, "You don't know me, but I'm really glad to finally meet you. I'm one of your stalkers." And I said, "Oh, you don't comment back, you don't whatever." She goes, "No, I'm really shy to do that." So, and she did. She bought a piece in my booth, which was awesome. But it was really nice to meet her. And she goes, "Oh, it's so nice to chat live about your work." But I think some people are shy online, so don't be discouraged.
And then just regarding Facebook as well, we have the 2 Facebook groups. So there is one for Riverdale ArtWalk and ArtWalk in the Square. It's the same group. So you can join that group and we'll post things there as well, information that you need for the show, links and stuff there. And then also just to chat with your fellow artists and ask them for advice if you need. And then we also have the Artist Network member group that you can join as well. And links to all of that are in the handbook. If you would like to join, we'll do our best to accept you right away.
Do the best you can to really join, especially the Artwork on the Square Facebook page. There's a tremendous amount of knowledge that sits within that page with the members who've done this show before. So if you're questioning, like, I don't know how to price my work, or I know someone said I should have D-rings, I don't know where they go, this is a great place. You don't always have to reach out to Samantha or Angela or myself, because a lot of the knowledge resides within that Facebook group. So please use it.
Yeah. All right. And then moving on to Eventini. Again, just the Eventini homepage for the actual event, ArtWalk in the Square. It has just the overview with all the information, and then the marketplace section will go live when the show starts with all of your profiles and links to your shops. So make sure you're adding all of your artwork on there that people can buy throughout the online show.
And I think, oh, sorry, Samantha, can you go back to a second? So and I think where it says overview marketplace, I think map goes up there as well.
Yes, the map will.
And right now the map's not live online there, so that's why it's not showing. Just because we're still figuring out the exact number of artists, and the map actually that's on there will actually link to the artist profile. So that's kind of a cool feature. So what we do is we push people during the show and to this platform and to the artist profiles here and to your store here. So even if you're in person, I would say minimum you want to put some art on the Eventiny site.
All right.
So you really, when you're doing your profile, you really want to show your personality and sort of really present yourself and your brand on the site. So I would suggest making it personally. What I've done here is I have a video, and that video clip is just like, here's a little bit about me as an artist. Welcome to my studio. And I just kind of have art behind me, and then I profile a few art images. So what happens is the first image that you upload on your profile will be one big image here, but as soon as you upload a video, the first largest square area, your video goes into that place. We're going to go on to the Eventiny platform and show you where that is a little bit for some new people. But just this is generally what your profile looks like. You can, it will have all your, it'll have your social content, but it'll, and right now it won't link to your website, but what Eventiny does for our shows is they actually have it linked during the site, during the event timeline, when the event starts and when the event closes. On Eventiny, it will link to the artists' websites. So it will actually link to the, so people will be able to find you on your website as well. People can follow you here on Eventiny, they can message you. And then I actually set up video calling. Like if somebody wanted to do a video call, this was more of a COVID thing when we weren't really doing in-person events. So I may take that off. This is an old image, or my profile's a bit old, but you can, there's a lot of tools and resources here to create your personal landing page on your profile. So I would say take advantage of it. And then this here is the product area of your site. So right now, we'll go on there and look at this, but we can just say, make sure that your images are good quality for your art, be consistent with your portfolio work, and it should be in line with your submission. So what I say with that is it's not necessarily the images from your submission, but it should be what you're accepted into the show for. So if you're accepted as, so I'm accepted as an encaustic artist here, and this is the work that was sort of has a look and feel of my submission. I'm not going to then put, I don't know, ink drawings here, or like something that I didn't have in my submission, right? So make sure that that's appropriate. And also a reminder that 20% of your profile here can be reproductions and prints, but no functional work. So when we say functional, if its primary function is a functional function like clothing or a bag or a bowl to put something in, or a mug, then you should not be putting that here. It should not be on the website, not part of the show. One thing to consider is to do a special collection. I know there's a lot of artists who like to do that. Profile just a special collection that's available just this short time period on the store. And that's just something to think about as well. Samantha, do you want to move forward a little bit? Yep. Your artwork profiled. Consider some other images to present your work. But I think we can show this a bit better online. So I think, Kate, maybe you can share your screen and we can talk to like the Eventiny profile.
Sure.
And again, just to highlight this while Kate's getting ready to do that, I just wanted to say that if you go to our YouTube channel, we have many, many videos where we've gone very slowly through the Eventiny profile about how to create your profile and things. Kate's done a bunch and I've done a bunch. There's a lot of Eventiny specific orientations. And I would just say, take advantage and look at them. Also, Eventiny itself, when Kate goes in here, I'll show you where there's Eventiny videos and images, and they're pretty slow and they go through how to do the process. So when you log in, it's www.eventiny.com. Now, as you see on the top right corner where Kate, it says #1, that means that she's got a message. And that's probably the message reminder that Samantha sent out today. But normally that icon, if you haven't uploaded an image on your profile yet, that will probably just be like an icon, and it would not for Kate, it would have a number like a K in it. And this is where you go view your profile, account settings, messages. So that's what that dot is. It is like she's got one message, my applications, and then other, like you can log out. So you would normally have to log in and put your password. So Kate, I don't know if you want to log out and then log back in just so people can see that. Because one of the hardest things is people don't know how to log in.
I hope I can remember my password.
Just click sign in on the top.
Sign in on the top.
So just one more quick thing though, is that if you have not created a password yet, obviously you need to sign up, but you should have, because you have to do it through.
Yeah, so, is that you? Grove, so, oh, too
No.
bad. Mine comes up automatically. Sorry, Kate.
I know, well, I've got something this weird one that doesn't actually exist, so.
Oh, so Kate, so you put your email address in and this is and then you put your password in and then there she is, right? Then you say, okay, well, how do I get to my profile? How do I do whatever? You're going to go to this icon and you're going to go to account settings. And then this is your main platform page. So you got your personal information, which is the information when you actually created your Eventini account. That's not your vendors, people visiting the show don't see that. Business profile, this is your profile. This is what people are going to see. My orders is if you've purchased and done stuff, if there's sales, this is where you can go get some detail about that, as well as payments and payouts. But if you just go to business profile, Kate, I think that's where we just want to go through quickly. So here you go. Kate's stuff's all in there, obviously, but this is where you probably fill in most of your information if you haven't. You see here, preview your business page at the very top. If you ever want to go see your business page, what it's going to look like to somebody else, because you'll say, oh, I can't see it on the Eventini site. This is Kate's business page. So if she scrolls down, she'll be able to see her products and basically what it looks like to the outside world. So at any time you can go view what your profile is going to look like to other people. So if we go back, sorry, Kate. Also video tutorials. Here's all the video tutorials: profile and Zoom, adding products, bulk upload, and which I think is a little bit more complicated. I would upload your images individually, but there you go. You can view any of these video tutorials. These are organized and presented by Eventini. We also have orientations online, but this is a really quick, easy resource. If you're in there and thinking, oh, I don't know how to do something, just look at these video tutorials. They're pretty quick. And then selling on Eventini and step-by-step instructions, that helps as well. But those are documents. So if you scroll down, there's Kate's description, and this is
also the link. Sorry, just the link right there, business page link. So that's what it, like, if you need to send it to anybody, that's the link to your actual profile, how a customer would see it.
Yeah. So what you want to do is make sure you have, when you're promoting the show, you're going to promote the entire show, but you also might want to promote people to get right to your profile in the show. And so you're going to copy that there. That's your link to your profile. Mine would be like 8572 or something. Kate's is 8569. So you're going to copy your profile, but you always want to make sure you send people also to the general event page on Eventini, because that's where they're going to see the map. That's where they're going to see highlighted artists or like a video about the show and stuff like that. You're going to make sure you put in your primary currency. This is a really important thing right underneath that link. Otherwise, so Eventini platform is a US platform that they've Canadianized for us. So that all the defaults are all US defaults, same as taxation. So that means if somebody buys a piece of your work and you didn't put down that your currency is Canada, then what's going to happen is it's going to do the taxes and stuff like that based on the US profile. So you want to put Canadian dollars in, and then you can put all this other content in.
We just have a question. Someone said, if you have a profile from the past, do you need to create another one or just modify the one?
Just edit. You're just editing. You're just editing. So Eventini, so this is an important factor. Sometimes could be multiple shows at one time. You have one Eventini platform with one email. So you could create a new Eventini profile if you had a different email, but you have to create a new account. So you don't need to do that. If you did Riverdale, if you've done any other show, just edit your profile. So Kate, do you want to scroll through? So your cover photo, that's your one main image, and then pictures. This is not your store. These are just extra pictures that you want to do and present yourself. So when you have that thing of 5 pictures, there's like the one, if you only have one image here, like that would be your wide view and your square view. That would be your one image. So that's showing you what it would look like on your phone or a smaller device. Pictures, you would add more pictures, and you can delete pictures. You can change anything here. So you can move the pictures as well. So if you say, oh, I would like, I've got the 5 images. I want to move this one to the front. I want to move this one to the front. If you have a video, the video takes, like what I said before, it takes the largest square area. I'm probably going through this a bit too slow because there's all videos about this, but people often get mixed up. They think they're putting pictures in here and that's their store. These are just your general profile brand images, I would say.
Yeah, so these show up, just to confirm, when you go back to your business profile, like you can see, I just changed the order of a few of them and it shows up right here. These are the pictures this is where your pictures show up.
Yeah, and then see there, it says edit page, share, whatever, but you show all pictures. So a visitor can show all pictures. So then they would see all the pictures that Kate had in there. They would scroll through more pictures.
Yeah, and that would be all of these ones here.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of pictures because
Yeah.
I've done this a lot of
So
times.
what happens is eventually the extra pictures get automatically uploaded in there. So you can just go through and delete them. It's not
Yeah.
really a problem. Yeah.
Or you can use them. You can just scoot them around if you want to just change your profile. Sometimes it's nice to be able to actually quickly go in there and change your profile pictures.
Yeah.
on the fly.
And sometimes people put like profile pictures of paintings they've already sold that they want to put in there, but this really presents you as presents your brand and who you are and the type of work you do. So you might want it, like maybe you have 4 different collections, you have 3 different collections, and you want it, you have kind of an image that represents those collections. This is maybe a good spot for that. But then maybe those paintings aren't for sale. There's all other paintings and you sold them. And then this is where you've got your videos. So the very first video that you upload here, you can remove it, you can edit, you can change these videos. Right now they have their YouTube videos. They're looking at introducing other video profiles. So you don't upload the video here, you're uploading, you're going to attach a link. So if Kate clicked on add, you can say what the video is from, and then you can add a link. So here's the type, but basically it's YouTube at this point. And then you put the link in from the YouTube video on your YouTube channel, and then it will take up that first square area. You can see Kate's got other videos here because people can flip through and go through different videos, and you can change which video you want profiled. And people, when we've had longer online shows, or maybe when the show is done, maybe you put a video on there of what your booth looked like at the show, right? You missed me at the show, I'm still online for a week, and maybe you present a different video. So it's an opportunity to do that here. Then you get to the product section.
So this is your store. This is the really important part.
Yeah. So, and they've added this button here, storefront open, and you can slide that over and you can close your whole storefront. This is maybe helpful for some people who are doing in person and they're worried about art selling online as well as in person. And maybe they don't want to have the actual storefront open, and that's your products. So your products are basically closed off during an in-person event or something like that. I personally don't do that. I just leave mine on. I kind of manage my sales online, and you can actually turn off different products. If you sell a product in person, you can turn it off as well. So if you scroll down, these are the individual products. So if you go through, you can publish and unpublish. So you can also unpublish an image, which means, so Kate has some published and unpublished. So you can upload 50 here if you wanted to, and you can publish some or unpublish some. You can edit them, you can remove them. So there's lots of different opportunities. You can move them up and down within your storefront and your profile. So this is just an opportunity for you to customize and build your business profile out to your audience.
It's really, really flexible, and I find it's really good. It gives you a lot of ability to kind of manage your own store and present it the way you want to. So for the way that I present mine, for example, I have large pieces. I've done it by size. Some people might do it by genre or by their collections or whatever, but as the artist, you have a huge amount of control over this, and you can also go in there and change it at any point in time. You don't have to wait for anybody else to upload things or approve things. It's your store. You can manage it the way you want to.
You can't post short YouTube videos under 30 seconds, doesn't upload. Okay, that's a good point. I didn't know that because I've never done really short ones. So make sure
I never seem to be able to get my words out under 30 seconds.
Yeah. So I just say, like, make it a minute. So if you're taking a video of your booth on site, make sure you have one long one.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I just got a message as well. Can we increase the price on Eventini at least 5 or 10%?
So that's up to you, because we know that Eventini does take a percentage of sales. The Artist Network takes no percentage of any sales online, but so you would pay your Stripe fee.
Or in person.
Or in person. You would pay like a Stripe fee, which is normal, like processing fee. And then Eventity does take a small fee. So yes, it's up to you. You can decide whatever you want to price your product at, you price your product at.
I would recommend though, I think that if you're a professional artist, I think that for me, I think it's fair that wherever people buy the work, they should be able to buy it at the same price, whether or not it's online or they're in your tent or they go to a gallery. And even though as an artist, you get a different percentage of that fee, optically, I think that's really kind of an appropriate way to manage your product in your store myself. That's my personal opinion.
I
But
guess
I think that you shouldn't be having different pricing everywhere.
yeah.
Practice.
Yeah, it's more professional not to, and it would make sense for it's the same thing that you do with your galleries, right? You don't change your pricing from your galleries, right? You don't undersell your galleries. Okay, should we just add a product just to show them just really quickly? We don't have to go through all of it, just to show what it looks like, what it appears like.
Sure.
Do we have time for that? I'm just watching the time here.
Yeah, so basically you go into the add a product, and if I'm going to have testing as my product. Now this is where the categories are kind of important, because when I first did the categories, I thought, oh, I'm going to do small and I'm going to do orange work and I'm going to do circular or whatever. What this does though, is it ends up that you can have your same piece of art in multiple places, which creates an issue if you're selling it. So you really want to have just one category piece. So for me, I might say this is a statement piece, and that is one of my categories I've got that I've already set up.
Yeah, so you can delete and edit these categories as well, because I would recommend you have no more than 3 categories in your store. And then I would also say only choose one category for each art piece, because otherwise you'll have the same piece in all these different categories and it becomes very confusing for the end user.
Yeah, so some of this too is, for example, for shipping or delivery, what I normally do is I have a Word document where I'd actually be able to copy and paste it from. It's like, these are the deals for shipping and delivery.
Yeah, so shipping type is actually kind of important. So
shipping type basically you have your free shipping, fixed cost, calculated on location or in person. So calculated based on location works with I think FedEx and Canada Post.
Yeah, there's a lot of different carriers, and you set that carrier on the in the screen that we had before. So you set your carrier, if you are going to use a carrier, like based on people's location. So if I was to purchase a piece from Kate, it would figure out my shipping fees based on my current location and her current location. Right. But she would have had to, like, you can only pick one courier. Okay, so like mine's FedEx, for example, on mine, I use FedEx. And then somebody else might use a different carrier, or you just don't use that. But this part where you're doing your shipping type, you can do that per piece. So like your large pieces, you can say, well, I'm not going to ship these, or I don't know how much they're going to cost, or it's going to be crazy because I have to figure out the weight. This is where it's sort of important, the shipping type, because you can change your shipping type for each piece of artwork that you have, or you can just do a flat fee. So I might do a flat fee for anything under 12 by 12, flat fee, $25 across Canada or across North America. And then in my delivery pickup information, I can say something like, if you're going to pick up instead, you can
hang on. There's actually a piece right here, which is important. So this allows the buyers the option to pick up instead of delivery. So what that means is, even if I've said, yep, the shipping is based on location, if they can actually kind of click that and say, I'm going to come and pick it up. So they're not charged shipping and they have to come and pick it up from you. So that's a really valuable thing. So I always click that one, because a lot of people for ArtWalk in the Square are going to be in Toronto. Some are not going to be, but some will be. And so they would rather kind of just swing by your studio and pick up the piece.
Yeah. So I do that for almost all my pieces as well.
Yeah. So this is important too. This package dimensions is different from your art dimension. So after you take your 12 by 12 and you package it all up, well, your package is probably going to be like maybe 14 by 14 by 3. And this is how FedEx determines how much they're going to charge. So you then go through save and continue. This is where you can upload your products.
This is extra pictures of your products.
No, this is the first picture of your product.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Right.
I thought that would be there.
No, so this is your first one here. So what you can do is, say you just kind of stick something in here. But what you can do is you can actually add additional pictures. not sure why that's not showing up. It might just be delayed. So for example, if I had a picture of like it was an in situ picture that I wanted to add there as well, then I could add that as well. So picture of the side, things like that.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, so variations is not extra pictures. So I think maybe it was the size, the dimension. So I think that's also, there's limits in regards to how big your image file can be.
Yeah, but I just wanted to kind of quickly show, because I know we scooted through quickly, but the videos on this are really good. So I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on it. But for
Right.
example, if we had, so this picture here, right? So then that was my main picture, and I've uploaded these other ones so you can kind of see that's what the frame looks like. This is what it looks like in situ, so people can get a sense of the size. So that's really good to be able to have more than one photograph or one picture of your piece in there.
And then there's an area you can put a description of the piece as well. So I would take advantage of this, go through and play around with the products and how you add stuff, and then how it's going to look for the end user. It's very easy to see what it's going to look like for them.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
So I think we're probably good with this, since we should
If there's a specific question that we can answer for someone who's already played around and done this. I think there's also a lot of people who already have a store front. So if you have a question, type it in, we can come back to this, but this is generally what you need to know about Eventini, the basics of it, adding your product. Is there any
Samantha, take it over again.
Any other questions about Eventini?
So if anybody has questions, you can put them in the chat. Samantha, you can maybe share your screen again while you're doing that. If anybody has questions, they can let us know. But Eventini is an awesome platform. I think we're really fortunate that we got to do that when COVID first hit. We started using Eventini, and I think for these hybrid events, it's still working out really, really well. Oh, so
Okay. Just scroll through back again to find where we were. Okay. So now we're going to go through a lot of the logistics for the in-person show. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
If any online artists have any other questions, let us know. Okay, all right. I don't see anything coming in.
So just key dates. So these two have passed, but just to reiterate, if you have not sent your signed contract and waiver, please do that. It is on the artist handbook, and it would have been in your acceptance letter as well. The email that you got from me accepting you into the show. So you can send that to my email, artwalk@artistnetwork.ca. And then everyone should have received as well their invoice for the participation payment. So I know we had a few later acceptances. So if you have received that invoice but haven't paid it, please send the payment as soon as possible. It would have been via PayPal through an email. And then coming up, key dates, we have September 9th is the deadline to order rentals through AER Event Rentals, which was formerly All Cargos. That's who we're partnering with for the show rentals, tents, and other fencing and grids. So I will go through the rental form in a few slides, but the email is there and it's all in the handbook as well, the order form and everything. And then we have the show date. So September 16th, the Friday at 11 a.m. load-in will start. And then the show runs from Friday, September 16th to Sunday, September 18th. Just a little bit about Shops at Don Mills. So it has a ton of different retailers. They have a lot of restaurants there. There's some pedestrian only streets, which is really nice for our show. And then the town square as well. They're very full this year with shops and things. So it'll be a nice spot for a show. And then here we have the map. So this is not finalized yet, the one on the right hand side, but this is what the booths will most likely be looking like. So we have, can you see my mouse on there, Angela?
Yeah.
Okay. So along this side, this is Frazier Road. So we will have a large number of booths along that street. And then we also have booths along Aggie Hog Gardens here. These red little squares is where the Artist Network booth will be, as well as our I Gave Art. And then here in the town square, we will have booths along the perimeter of the square. And there are some tables and I think picnic tables in the center of the square there that Shops at Don Mills has put in place. So yeah, the booth layout will look something like that, but we are still just making some edits to that, and you will receive your booth placements closer to the show. They will be sent out in just closer to the show date. So the Artist Network booth is where you should come if you have any questions throughout the show. I will be in there. Barb as well. I'm sure most of you know Barb if you've been in one of our shows before. We will be in the Artist Network booth throughout the show. You can come for any questions. We will also have the I Gave Art draw. I think we're going to have two booths kind of across from each other. So we'll have one with the Artist Network information, and then we will have a separate booth with all of the I Gave Art on display and the draw where people can come and fill out ballots for the I Gave Art draw. In terms of COVID, we are expecting not to have any restrictions at the time of the show, but if there are any restrictions in place, we will be following the provincial guidelines or any restrictions that Shops at Don Mills has in place as well. For load-in. So load-in will begin on Friday, September 16th at 11 a.m. and run in 15-minute time slots. So if you are having anyone come to help you with load-in, it will be starting at 11 a.m. and running until about 12:15. So that is the time frame. You will receive your actual load-in time in the 15-minute increments closer to the show date. But if you have someone coming to help you, just so you know now that it's between 11 and 12:15 on the Friday. So you will go to your assigned loading zone. Everyone will be given a specific loading zone out of 3 different zones based on where their booth placement is. You'll check in with one of our staff or volunteers, and then we will find out if there's a place for your vehicle at that time. We'll have you pull over, and then you will be able to unload your vehicle. The volunteers will watch all of your art and your other supplies while you go and park in one of the parking lots. Parking is to be on the 3rd and 4th levels of whichever parking lot at Shops at Don Mills you want to park in. I think there's 2, one on either side. And then if you have an oversized vehicle, there's a specific parking lot south of the metro by the arena. And then you can return to your loading zone, grab all of your materials, and then take it to your booth. And we will have overnight storage as well. We're just confirming the location, but I'll go into it a little bit more in detail. So
note for some people, some of the booths on Carl Fraser Road, that's going to be a drive-through area. So you'll be able to drop your work right off at your booth area.
Yes. And then, like I said, we're partnering with AER Event Rentals. So they will be delivering all of the tent rentals and other rentals early on the Friday morning. So hopefully, if there's no weather delays, we will have everything set up for 11 a.m. when the artist load-in starts. If you have ordered a tent or the full fences, those will be put in your booth. If you have to specify on the order form which walls you want the fencing on. If you only get 1 fencing or 2, you have to just tell them which walls you want, and then they will set it up. But if you are renting any grids, tables, chairs, or just weights, those will just be left in your booth area and you will set those up. So they have a load-in plan, and they will be on site as well on the Friday for any questions. And we'll have a contact number for them as well. We'll have the number closer to the show date, and we'll send it out to everyone if you need to call them throughout the show weekend. So this is our load-in process. I know it looks a little bit crazy if you're a first timer with the show, but it's all in detail. We'll have this sent out to all the artists as well once we send out your booth assignments and when we send out the load-in schedule as well. So then you'll be able to review this based on which loading zone you're assigned. But basically our first loading zone is Aggie Hog Gardens. So we'll be able to have 2 to 3 vehicles at a time pull up right here where this blue square is to drop off materials. And that will be for the booths along Aggie Hog and within the town square.
Yeah, so the best way to do that, I'm just going to put a flag up here, is if you drive in and along Clock Tower Road, go to along Clock Tower Road, and then drive up to that spot versus having traffic coming both ways, because it's that side of the street. It's a two-way street there. So it's easiest if you come along Clock Tower Road and then drive up, and then we'll just pull in into spot as soon as one becomes available, and you'll drop off your art. And that's mostly going to be for the people who are on Town Square in the grass area and on part of that Aggie Hog, but mostly the Town Square artists will be pulling in there.
Yeah, and then our second loading zone is in red here. So that's Carl Frazier Boulevard. So we have, again, you'll come down Clock Tower Road here where these arrows are. And then Carl Frazier is actually, we will be able to drive through the street. So we'll have some areas here where people can pull over and drop materials, but we can also have cars drive right through and drop off in front of your booths. So if you're along this street, you'll be coming to loading zone 2. Some people
I just also just kind of want to flag here. That's why the load and zone timelines are important, because if you can imagine, if your booth is right by Clock Tower Road, if it's like 5 booths up and you're unloading your car and somebody's like 10 booths down on Carl Fraser Boulevard, what happens is you're going to hold those other cars up. So we purposely load in the furthest booth first, like up there, those booths are going to have earlier time slots. So if for any reason you need a certain time slot, like what Samantha can't do is if your booth is like in the middle of Carl Fraser Boulevard, you're not going to have the first loading time. Like you won't. The other booths are going to have that. So if you need an early time lot, I would reach out to Samantha and just let her know that. Like I need a lot of time to set up my booth. Can I please have an earlier load in time, an early load in time? Then we'll make sure your booth's in a spot where you can have an early load in time.
Yeah. Or same thing, if you want a later load in time, you know, you don't need a lot of time, just let me know that as well, because then we can try to put you in one of the lower down booths where, or you could just
or somewhere else where it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. But there's specific spots that get specific times. So if you have a request, just send it to me ahead of time.
We'll do our best. Yeah,
And
there's never any guarantees on locations in the park and on the grounds, and booths can be moved later on, just as an FYI. Just if something happens with Shops at Don Mills, or just with when we're laying it out, something changes on site. What we want to do is just make sure it's sufficient for everybody. You always have the option of just parking in the parking lots and hand dolling stuff to your booth. Yeah. Right. So if you don't have the timeline that you like, you can always do that.
And then we have our third loading zone here in purple. So this is parking access road. So you can enter along here and then come in. And then there is, we'll have room for about 6 to 7 spots here. And then you can come through, this is Maggie Muse. There's a little entryway here, and then come down into this area along Aggie Hog and the town square as well. So we'll have some spots.
So most of the artists in that loading zone, you'll be on Aggie Hog Gardens. You'll have to use that back loading zone, because the people who are on town square, they're a little bit further for that. So they'll probably mostly be in loading zone 1.
Yeah. And then like Angela said, if you don't like your time, or you just prefer to load from your car, you can always go to these emergency drop-off spots in the parking lot back here. And then you can just dolly from your car into your booth. And then once you're finished, move your car up onto the 3rd or 4th level in the parking garage.
Yeah, so it's not just those 3 spots. You can park anywhere, and even
anywhere
like there's other parking spots. Like let's say you can go along Pabst's Lane, or let that other walk through or whatever. There's other ways you can dolly your stuff in. Even if you parked in that parking lot, you can go along the different Muse. There's all these different Muse things. You can park somewhere and walk to your booth, just dolly into your booth.
Yeah. And then down here in gray is where the oversized vehicle parking lot is, down by the south of the metro. So if you have any oversized vehicle, it needs to be parked in this parking lot here. And then for overnight storage, this is where we're just in the process of confirming this with Shops at Don Mills, but we're hoping to have 2 locations available. So this is in pink here, where one of them will be. It is a basement access. So there is an elevator, but there will be very limited elevator access. There's specific hours that we will not be allowed to use the elevators, but there is stair access to that room as well. And then we will hopefully have another spot as well up here on Carl Fraser. I think it's right, oh, sorry, I think it's right around here where my mouse is, somewhere along Carl Frazier there. So that will be another spot that we're hoping to have. We're just confirming. And this one is a ground level. So if you have dollies or things like that that need to be put away when we can't use the elevators, it would go into that storage area. But I have another slide about that as well. So for load-in, just a few important notes. There will not be volunteers on site until 11. So that's when all of the load-in times will start, because we will have people available to watch all of your materials when you drop off. Aggie Hog Gardens, you cannot drive through. There's no vehicle access on that street, but there is on Carl Frazier. You can drive through if you're on that loading zone. Clock Tower Road, which is this one here where the orange arrows are, you cannot park on that road. Just be very careful, because
And you can't unload on that road. You cannot.
yeah, there's no
unload.
unloading there either. Yeah.
Even if you're on Town Square and your booth's right close to the edge there, if you're on that Clock Tower Road, they're going to ask you to move immediately. They're asking us to ensure no artists stop there and unload there, because it happens every year. Someone who wants to unload there because their booth's right there, and you're like, think you're going to be 5 minutes, but it's all the other retail vendors and stuff. There's a lot of complaints, and if there's too many complaints against our show, we won't be able to showcase our work here again. So we just need to make sure that nobody unloads on that street.
Yeah. And then just make sure you're very careful when you're driving and unloading, as there are pedestrians walking around and shoppers. So just be very careful. And then also your vehicles cannot be left unattended at any time. So you're just meant to pull over, unload your items out of your vehicle, and then you go and park while the volunteers watch your items. They are not to be watching your vehicles. So you cannot leave your vehicle unattended while you're loading out. This is just a general schedule kind of the whole show. So Friday, September 16th, 11 to 12:15, we'll have the artists load in, and you will be assigned a specific load-in time and loading zone based on where your booth is. And then at 11 a.m., we will also have the storage areas open up, so you can start if you need to load anything in there.
But again, no, on Friday, no, you won't be able to use the elevator during the office hours, right? So you won't be able to use the elevator at 11 o'clock.
Yeah. And then from 1:30 to 3 p.m. is when we'll have the artist check-in. So you can pick up your artist packages, which will have your name tag, your booth sign. If you donate a piece of art to the I Gave Art Draw, you'll have a sign for that as well that can be hung up. And then this is when you would also drop off any donations for the I Gave Art. So bring us the actual piece that we can hang up in the booth. And then 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Friday is the show is open. And then after the show closing at 8 p.m. is when the overnight storage will be opened, so that you can load stuff into the storage. And then Saturday, September 17th at 8:30 a.m., the storage area will open before the show. And there is no specific schedule for Saturday or Sunday in the morning, so you can just come at your own time. And then, but you can have access to the overnight storage at 8:30 in the morning. And then 10 a.m. until 7 p.m., we have the show open. 7 p.m. until 8 p.m., the storage is open again for you to load stuff in at the end of the show hours or at show closing. And then Sunday, September 18th, 9:30 a.m., the overnight storage will open before the show. 11 a.m. to 5 p.m., the show is open. And then 5 p.m. to 6:30, we will have the storage open again. And then as well, the teardown will begin on the last night of the show. So loadout begins at show closing, not before. Just please be respectful of all your fellow artists and don't start cleaning up or loading out your booth until the show has officially closed. The overnight storage will open on show closing each day, and just we recommend that you remove anything of value out of your booth at the end of each day. So loadout for Sunday, there is no schedule. It just tends to happen and work more organically. So you'll pack up your full booth. clean up everything in your booth area, make sure you're removing any garbage or zip ties or anything from the ground, make sure it's very clean. You can move your all of your materials and art to your preferred loading zone. So you can go to whichever one is more convenient, but most likely the one you loaded in because it'll be closest. And we'll have volunteers available again to watch all of your items at the curbside. You do need to have a staff or volunteer inspect your booth, and then we will give you a vehicle pass to enter one of the loading zones with your vehicle. So then you can go and get your vehicle from the parking lots, move to the loading zone, and then you'll load in as the volunteers watch your items. So you'll pack up your vehicle and then just return your access pass.
And I can also say here for Loadout, if you prefer to just diligently take your time and load out your car, load out to your car and hand dolly stuff to your car, you can do that. Like you can just load out that way. You don't have to go to the loading zones. You can also, just like some people choose to do on load in, you can just load out that way as well. Just dolly things to your vehicle in just a general parking lot in the mall. Samantha, there's a question here about the handbook. Someone says they didn't receive the handbook, but the handbook's online. And what's the password again? Because you can just go to ArtWalk in the Square. Art. And
if you just go to the ArtWalk in the Square homepage, there's a tab on the right-hand side that says artists. And you just click on that, and then there's it says handbook, I believe. And the password for it is artists with a capital A and artists with an S. 2022. But I did send out the link in an email as well as through a message on Eventini. So you should have it in one of those two places. But if you can't find the link that I sent, it is just accessible from the homepage of the ArtWalk in the Square website.
Yeah, and just a note for those who don't know, your messages are always stay in Eventini. So you can always go back and see your messages again. That's why we often do communication, because people can't find emails. So you just log into Eventini and all your messages are there.
Yeah, most of the communications from myself leading up to the show will be through Eventini because I can send group messages. I can send it to all of the artists very quickly and efficiently. So I send a lot of messages through there, but you can find them through Eventini just by clicking on your messages. And if you search ArtWalk, it should come up. And then they also are sent as an email as well. So the sender is through Eventini. In your acceptance email, I included the email address that those messages come through. So you can add it as like a safe sender if you're not getting those for some reason, but you can find them in your email inbox as well as in your messages on Eventini. So they're in two places. And I send a lot of communications that way through Eventini.
Yeah, and just a note for people, because I get this question all the time, for safe senders, one way to make sure someone's a safe sender is just to add it as a contact. So you can just put Artist Network and then just put that email address as a contact, and then it becomes a safe sender. So I get people asking me that all the time. So
okay. And then parking, like I said, so artist parking is the upper floors of the parking garage. So the third and fourth floor. You can park on, or you can have your car on the first or second floor if you're just hand dollying back during load in or load out, but then we ask that you just go and move your car afterwards to the third or fourth floor, just so we can keep the lower levels clear for the customers of the mall. And then overnight storage. So like I said, we are just confirming this, but we're hoping to have the two different locations. So the location one is that basement storage area. The entrance is on Maggie Muse, which is just above Aggie Hog Gardens. And this is elevator access or stair access. But in regards to the elevator access, we will not have elevator access until show closing on Friday. And we cannot use the elevator during the office hours, which is, I believe, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. just because there's mall tenants that need to be able to use the elevator.
Yeah, I think they might close. We're going to confirm those hours, but that's on Saturday. On Sunday, the offices are closed and we can use the elevator. So
yes. And just to note that this space, some of the other mall tenants do have access to rooms out of this area. It's not a locked space, so it's just off the elevators and there's a big open storage, but some other mall tenants might be going in and out throughout the show as well.
Yeah, so
And
though we say, sorry, just though
Yeah.
we say it's an open area, it is a room, like you have to go
Yeah.
through a door to get to it. So only people who know about that are the tenants that actually have space there. And that is locked, that whole area is locked off event date hours and show hours. So it's not like it's accessible before the show opens or closes.
Yeah. And then our second potential to be confirmed space is it's a ground level space in a retail store. And it's located on Frazier. This space is not a temperature controlled area. So it does have a door and it locks, but it doesn't have, there's no air conditioning in it. So if you do have any pieces that you're hoping to store that are heat sensitive, we would recommend using the basement storage area. But we are in the process of just confirming both of these. So I will send that out as soon as I have it confirmed. I'll just send an email note or through Eventini. And in regards to the overnight storage, it is a shared space open to all of the artists. So just be respectful when you're coming in and out during load-in, as well as placing your items. There's no formal assigned spaces. So just try and have all of your art grouped together, leaving other space available for other artists. And if you do have your art on a wagon or a cart or a dolly or something, just try to leave the wall space open for the artists that need to stack up against the walls. And if you are leaning art against the walls, just be mindful that it could slip out. So try to have some non-slip padding or something underneath, just so nothing is sliding away from the walls. We will not have any of those items, so make sure to pack what you need if you're hoping to use the overnight storage. And just please respect the space, leave it tidy, try not to leave any waste or recycling in there. There will be garbages and things and recycling outside in the mall open for that. But we will confirm all of this, and I will send a note once all of the overnight storage is confirmed. Food and beverage, there are lots of great restaurants on the site, so you can definitely pop in and grab something. We'll have volunteers available to do artist relief. So if you need a quick break, you can go and grab something to eat and bring it back. But you can also just pack food throughout the show. Make sure you drink lots of water. It's hopefully will be very nice weather and warm. So pack lots of water to stay hydrated. And then we also are going to have the McEwen's food truck will be on site during the show. And Shops at Don Mills has confirmed that that will be located by the fountain on Aggie Hog Gardens. So that will be available during the show as well. It won't be in the way of any of the booths, but it will just be kind of off to the side a little bit, but available for customers and artists throughout the show.
So I just have a question here, Samantha. I just want to cover it off. How can we request an end booth so an exterior wall can be used for displaying art? So in the original submission, there was an area for booth requests. If you didn't fill that in, so we actually have that in our data. But if you didn't fill that in at the time and you'd like to request something, I would say you need to send an email to artwalks@artistnetwork.ca. That goes to Samantha. There's never any guarantee about any space. And the way that we allocate our booth spaces is based on any booth requests that may have come in from an artist, based on a random draw, itemized draw. So what we basically do is just look at a numberized thing, and we basically say, oh, number 123 on the list, and then we place them in the booth. And so as your name comes up in a randomized format, you are placed on the map. And so if you ask for an end booth and there isn't one available when your name comes up, then you don't get an end booth. We try as much as possible on this particular event space to leave spaces between booths, so people will have like a back wall or a side wall, but not everybody will have an extra wall for display. So also it has to do with you're an early bird artist, though, that you're in a randomized draw and placement first, and then all the other regular submissions, and then the late submissions. So just that's an FYI. We kind of break it into those three categories because we have timing for every single submission that comes in, and that's how you're placed on site. All right, so it's actually 8:20, so we're going to go through this next area a little bit quick, Samantha.
Yep. So volunteers, I'm going to be creating that page on Eventini where all volunteer signups can happen. So I will send that out once it's live and available for volunteers to sign up for shifts. So if you have any friends or family that would like to volunteer at the show, please share that. I'll send it out to everyone soon. We have shops at Don Mills, and then also All Cargos. It's now AER Event Rentals, but you might still see that name, just our sponsors for the show. In terms of lighting, because on Friday the show is running until 8 p.m. we do sunset is supposed to be at around 7:25. So it would be a great idea to plan some battery powered lighting for your booth so that customers coming towards the end of the show that evening can still see all of your artwork.
Yeah, it does get dark even before sunset. So
Yeah.
you can say, oh, I have to get lighting for that short period, but it gets kind of harder to see as the evening progresses or the day progresses. So definitely plan for lighting within your booth. There's no electricity on site for artists.
And then booth logistics. So this is our rental form from AER Event Rentals. This is available in the handbook.
Sorry, can I just interrupt for one quick second?
Yeah.
Because the Friday night is also kind of our night market. So, although we're open late, it's a really great opportunity to like bring out your glow sticks, have your shiny pens, put a disco ball in your tent. Like it's designed to be kind of a fun kind of end of the evening. So the more you guys can kind of contribute to that, the more fun it becomes.
Yeah.
So rental forms are due by Friday, September 9th. So make sure you get those in as soon as possible. I know there is a section at the top here that says booth location. Most likely you might not have your booth by the time you submit this. And if you're wanting to get it in as soon as possible, you don't have your booth locations yet. So you can just leave this blank. Don't worry about that. We will send to All Cargos or to AER the full list of all artist booths. So they will get your booth number. It's not a problem. Just fill it out and just leave that section blank. That we will send everyone's booth locations to the company right before the show. So they'll get it. It's not a problem. Just send it in as soon as possible so that you have your rentals confirmed if you need them. And you can get tents, you can get chairs, tables, just weights if you wanted to for your own personal tent. There's lots of different items, and all of the pricing on here is for the full show. So the Friday, Saturday, Sunday. This is what the tents look like. So they are a 10 by 10 pop-up canopy, and they come with the sidewalls and weights. These black grids is the freestanding fences. So those they will set up for you if you indicate which walls you want them on. And then just some tables and chairs here so you can see. These are the hanging grids. So these you would need to hang up yourself. And just a note that the tents are not completely waterproof, so you would be responsible for providing protection of your work. If it were to rain, you might want to have some plastic sheeting that you can hang up to hang over your artwork. And I have a picture later on of the pool noodle method. Maybe Kate or Angela can go into that a little bit more, but it's a great way to keep the top from caving in if there is rain. We will have carts available, the dollies available to rent as well. They will have a bottom on them. This is just a picture from a past year. So if you do need to rent one of these, just send me an email as soon as possible. There's a limited number, and I'm sure a lot of people will need to use them or hope to rent them. So just send me an email to artwalk@artistnetwork.ca, again, by Friday, September 9th, but I would do it as soon as possible if you know you're going to want one. And those will be just cash on site at the show. And then just a little bit about planning out your booth. I think this is something Kate has done in the past to kind of lay out her walls. I don't know if you want to talk any more about that, Kate. Oh, you're on mute.
Hi, sure. So what I do is I actually plan my booth in Excel ahead of time. So even though there is storage and you can bring extra art, I think it does help you to kind of have a bit of a plan so that you have an idea of what you're going to be hanging when you get there. I do this in Excel, and I have each square is equal to 6 inches. And then I can actually put the exact pieces that are going to be in my tent. I can see if the colors work. I can see if I'm too heavy in the blues and I need to create something else. And I think this is something that you can start to really think about planning the look and the brand of what you're going to look like when you show up. And it's a lot easier to do this than to kind of try and randomly figure it out when you get there. And then you realize that your pieces are all different sizes and they're hung differently, and it kind of doesn't look as organized as it could.
Great. Yeah, so just a little bit more about that. Just hopefully plan it out and test it if you can ahead of time. Make sure you have sufficient weights. If you're using your own tent, have some plastic sheeting in case of rain. We obviously hope the weather will be great, but the show goes on, rain or shine. And make sure your setup allows for clear view from the outside, easy access for customers to come into your booth. It's good to have a table and chair in there. Make sure you have some signage with your name to hang, and we will also provide signs with your booth number and your name on them as well.
Yeah, so those signs that we give you, they're very small. It's a 8.5 by 11. Someone asked about that, and it's really about your booth number, but it's not your brand. You want to brand yourself and present yourself as an artist.
Everyone is given a 10-foot by 10-foot booth space, so make sure you're not exceeding that with your tent and other signage. We suggest bringing a guest book that you can
So
have.
I just want to say a little bit more about that. Sorry, is that sometimes you need to also be aware of your neighbor. So you don't want to stick something out. The reason we say this, because you don't want something sticking out of your booth, because when people walk by, it actually blocks the booth beside you, right? So it's really be cognitive and aware of your neighbors, and that you're not infringing on people seeing their booth and their space and them presenting their work.
Mhm.
And it's the same as when you're not pulling people from outside. You don't want to pull people from other people's booths into your booth. People will randomly walk around, and the show's small enough that they can visit all artists.
So just some other things to pack. You might want to, or you'll want to have packaging for your sales when someone buys a piece of art. Maybe have something to wrap around it, bags for smaller pieces. And we say that it's good to bring work to replace sold items. So that's why we have the storage. If you want to bring some extra pieces to replenish, you can have those in the overnight storage.
Yeah, and
if
you can
access-
also put packing. So keep your booth area clean and tidy. You can keep packing material and things like that in storage as well.
Yeah.
So take advantage of the storing. We're going to confirm all that, but if we have that and it's easy, I would say take advantage of that. And then Samantha has here generally stick to a white tent. Shops at Don Mills would require that.
Yeah.
So on site, you can't have a blue tent or all these different randomized tent. They want a really clean, well-presented show, and we require you to have a white tent. It was on the submission information.
And in the overnight storage as well, you will be able to access during show hours. You'll just need to come find a staff member or volunteer, and we can take you down and into the storage if you need to grab another piece of artwork to hang or some packing materials, things like that. I just have some pictures of different ways to display your art. So these, like I said before, the fence panels. So these you can rent through AER, and they're full walls. They sit on the ground. These have
some questions about hanging grids and stuff like that. So I just want to reiterate here that all cargos will place the fencing in the areas, and they'll just drop the fencing in one wall if you haven't told them what wall you want. Like if you're only ordering one fence, sometimes people order fence and grids, but the grids, they're not going to hang those up for you. That's your responsibility to have zip ties or chains, or however you're going to hang your grids. You're going to hang those yourself and place those in your booth. Nobody is doing that for you. So plan for that. Make sure you have ladders and proper zip ties.
Yeah, the grids shown here, they will just drop in your booth.
So there's another question here about what they set up. They set up your booth. If you have a booth rental, they set that up, and they set up the fencing, but not the smaller grids, right? And it says our booths on grass or concrete. It's pretty much concrete. Even the grass area that looks like it's a grass area in that, if you haven't had a chance to go to Shops at Don Mills, take a wander over there. But even the turf, that grass is not, it's turf, it's fake grass. So it's actually almost like standing on concrete. So imagine just assume you're all on concrete.
And a lot of the booths will be along Carl Frazier and Aggie Hogg. So those are all on concrete. And just if you're hanging grids, just watch the weight, make sure you're not overloading the tent frame itself, because it can get really heavy with all the artwork hanging on it. And here's just some different grids, white ones. This is like a different backdrop that you can get. There's lots of different ways that artists hang their artwork. These are the cloth mesh walls. So those I think have holes in them, right, Angela, that you can hang hooks onto.
They're the flourish walls. So
Yeah,
the flourish walls, which I think you're not going to be able to order in time, because I think you're about a 6-week delay. But there is other mesh fabric you can buy at Fabricland that you can actually make your own if you choose to.
Yeah, like a white screening, it's a sunscreen fabric, I think.
Okay. Some people use like boards and then hang it vertically like that.
Yeah, so these are kind of like wood sort of frames, and people kind of etch in and they like kind of create these like lines and they kind of hang their wires on them. So you can see it probably easier with these ones that aren't painted white, but it's a pretty easy, light way to present your work. So I would say if you're new to the show, you might want to order grids or rent fencing and then walk around the show and look at how other artists display their work, or take a look at our Facebook page, or take a look at some of the other images from other shows, and you'll be able to kind of look through the booth and look at how people are managing and presenting their work.
Yeah, so just lots of different options. Same thing, but with metal posts instead of wood, like this, but it's just metal posts. Some people hang everything with chains off of the tent frame. You can do different mesh panels. And then some people build different booths out of wood. Yeah, very different ideas. So there's lots you can do, but yeah, like Angela said, if it's your first show, take a walk around, see how other people display, but it might be a good idea to rent the fencing or the grids just to get a start and see how you can do it for the next show. Lots of different photos. If you have work that needs to be like sculptures or things like that, you can display it on, you can rent tables through the rental company, and then you might want to have some pedestals or things that you can
Yeah, so all I can also say is that even though it's on concrete, it's not necessarily flat. So if you're doing pedestals, make sure you take things where you can level stuff out, right? So it's just something to be aware of. And also just a note, if you are on the turf area, you're required to put padding under the legs or any metal legs or anything like that that's in your booth. So we'll have some of that stuff there if you get stuck or whatever, but you can just take like rubber, like I cut up an old yoga mat. So I have a bunch of that, but other like just a plastic sheeting or something like that, just to protect the turf. The turf's getting older and they just really want to make sure that they protect their turf.
Okay. And then I think these are just some different ways to hang off.
So what you want to do with hanging your work, you want to think about how that ease of hanging your work. And I would just say one of the biggest things that someone told me, I think it was you, Kate, just put D-rings on the top of your work. So these might not be the hanging system you're going to actually do to sell it. Like I put D-rings on the top of on the corners of my art, and I just unscrew them and take that off when you sell your work. But it's really just for ease of like hanging your work up, either on a chain or however you're hanging your work. Wired work also tends to move around a lot. And so this way it keeps your work straight, and it's a very simple format of hanging work. Make sure you have S-hooks, and make sure your S-hooks fit your grid or your mesh.
Same with the D-rings too. The D-rings as well. It's important. It's a lot easier actually if the top of the D-ring actually pokes up to above the top of the painting. I've seen people that have hidden the D-rings on the back, and that actually does make it a lot more difficult too. Like no one's going to notice the little D-ring that's sticking out the top, and it'll look much more professional and hang flatter.
Yeah.
Just some different zip ties. I think they have reusable ones now, but plastic zip ties work great as well. Just make sure when you're upon loadout, we clean all those out of the booth area. Just some different Velcro and hooks.
So you just want to think about not only hanging your art, but how you're going to hang your tags, like your information tags about the piece, your pricing and stuff like that. So there's all different ways to do that. Here, somebody's just used name tag holders. Somebody's used curtain hooks to hang up their art. Like there's all different ways you can do. So this is where that closed Facebook group is super, super handy, because someone says, anybody have ideas on how to hang whatever? And it's a really great supportive group of artists. So just reach out into that closed Facebook group, and probably lots of people will answer your questions.
And Angela, maybe you can go through the hula hoop.
Well, this is just a hula hoop. So you can put like either 4, or you can use like these pool noodles in the corners of your booth. If they're calling for any rain at all, I would say these are a lifesaver, because what happens with the rain is that the tent tops stretch and they pool water into areas. And so what you try to do, this keeps the top of the tent taut, and then the water just rolls off the tent. I am going to also point out, if it is raining, please don't, you're probably are going to be like popping up the rain off your booth. Please make sure that you're aware of your neighbors when you do that, so that if you do have a lot of pooled water, you don't just pop it up and then it splashes on somebody else's artwork. So just watch your neighbors and just be respectful of other people. But yeah, pool noodles help.
All right, and then part 4, rocking your art booth. So
Yeah,
just
so
some things.
Some of this we probably have covered already,
Yeah.
Samantha, but we'll
Yeah.
just go through this pretty quickly because it's 8:30 already.
So we do have a suggested packing list and a show tips document. Those are in the handbook that you can just open and download. So you can review those later. Just some on-site tips. It might be consider arranging to have someone sit with you or for you, just to give you a break during the show, but you can also make friends with your neighbors, and we will have volunteers to give artist relief as well. Like I said, there's plenty of restaurants around. Make sure you have a hat, sunblock, phone, water, snacks, clothing for all weather possibilities.
So I would just like to add there, like,
like
make sure that you have so there's no electricity on site. So if you need to charge your phone or charge device, it's something you should think about as well. Should always come to a show with everything charged and ready. I don't know, Kate, do you want to talk a little bit about tips for selling your show and how you like present yourself in your booth? Like how
Yeah,
you interact with the
I think there's a couple things. I think part of the challenge, like I think that when it says, make sure there's somebody there to kind of man with your booth and stuff, is really tempting with it. Your first show is to have other people there with you. And that's, to a certain degree, can sometimes distract you from the purpose of the show, which is really to sell your art. You've created the work, you've been in the studio. This is now your opportunity to showcase your work to the public and hopefully sell it. So I always find it's better not to have friends and family in the booth. They kind of crowd up the space and it's distracting for you. And it's kind of, I find that makes it difficult to actually focus on what you need to do. Most people are going to want to know, a little bit about what you're about. So to have your 15-second elevator speech about why you do the work and why it should connect with people. All of the work should be fairly self-explanatory. If you do anything that's even remotely unusual, people will want to know about your process. And so have your kind of tips ready for what your process is. It's important to have your pricing clearly indicated in your booth. A lot of people who don't buy a lot of art don't want to have to ask you what your pricing is, and you'll just lose those people instantly. The other part that's kind of important is to make sure that you have something within the booth space that is, you kind of want a small piece that someone can buy spontaneously. And you always want to put a really nice, big, powerful piece at the back of your booth, which draws people in and it shows them what you can do. What that also does is it helps anchor your pricing. So your biggest pieces, of course, is going to be your most expensive piece. It sets that price point. So then when people kind of choose something smaller, then that sort of seems more reasonable to them. And obviously, if you sell the big one, then that's awesome. People definitely go to these shows looking for large pieces of work to fill their space. Think ahead of time about how you're going to react to things like, do you do commissions or not? Will you deliver the work? Will you hang the work for them? If they want to see it on spec, will you take it to their place maybe on the Saturday night as the show ends to see if it fits in their space? Do you accept cash? Are you willing to negotiate your price? There's a whole bunch of stuff that you need to think about ahead of time so that when you're asked those questions in the booth, you're not going to be kind of taken by surprise. I think it's always important to put red dots on when you make a sale. I know there's lots of different thoughts on that, and some people will kind of feel that that's sort of braggy, but the reality is people like to buy from people who are successful, and those red dots show that you're an artist who's selling, and it helps to actually make it easier and more comfortable for other people to buy your work. They don't have to be huge honking red dots, but just a little red dot. Take your stick tack and put it on the side of your tent.
Yeah, and try to be upbeat, even if you're tired and you haven't been selling, you think about what your goals are for the show. I would say that one of my goals as a new artist, I haven't even done a whole year of all these outdoor shows. Well, I guess almost now I have, but is to stay upbeat, right? Your goal might be connecting with people, getting feedback on a new collection, building your database, building your relationships, learning how to speak to the public about your work. So think about all the different goals that you're trying to achieve. And then also think about just being positive, having a really good attitude. If you aren't selling, it doesn't mean that you won't sell. Sometimes you sell your biggest piece in the last, even after show closing. Like my last show, I had to like stay open, like everybody's packing up and I still have clients, potential clients in my booth talking to me about a really big piece. So you don't know when that's going to happen. So just try to stay positive. Sometimes the conversations continue post show. We're very fortunate that we have that online profile. We can continue to sell and promote the show past the in-person show.
Yeah, and I think that Shirley Temple's mother used to always tell her before she went on stage, she's always like, it's sparkle time. And so that's really what that is. Like, you know, not only do you need to be positive for yourself because it creates a more comfortable environment for people to come into your tent. It's also for the other artists around you. If you're grumbly and difficult and complaining, it kind of creates a vibe in that area that people are not going to want to come in your booth. So try really hard not to do that.
And that's even how you present yourself in your booth. So a lot of people put low, I would recommend no low chairs in your booth, honestly. If you're sitting low, it's hard to engage and talk to people. If you need to sit down, maybe try to have a taller stool or a mid-range, mid-height stool or something, just so that you're not low and like sitting at the back of your booth reading your book or on your device. So now I try to, if I'm on my device, I try to step out of my booth. Sometimes it's very difficult because it's that busy. And if somebody's calling you or asking you about something, one of your pieces or whatever, you want to respond to that and watch that as well, especially with the online show. But sometimes stepping out of your booth and giving space. So I often do that. I actually don't often have a chair in my booth. And I will, if people are coming to my booth, I often step out of my booth and say, oh, let me just give you some space. You can come in and take a look. And like, it's just like, you want to make sure that you're engaging and you're available to chat with and make it easy for people to come in and see your work.
So the other thing is that you have to also it's a little bit of psychology. If you're an extrovert and you talk a lot, like I do, I have to be conscious about not to talk too much. I need to go in, talk to people, step back out, give them the space and the time to look at the work. If you're introverted, you have to force yourself to go and at least make that first point of contact with people. If it's one of your first shows and you're not sure yet how to describe your work in the sense that, you know, what emotion is it evoking? What are people seeing in it? Then this is a great place to be able to kind of say to people, like, what do you see in the work? Or how does it make you feel? And those phrases can start to be incorporated into your elevator pitch. And that's really helpful because really ultimately it's interesting to know how other people see your work, especially if you're non-representational. And it allows you to build the language to communicate it to the next person that's coming into the space.
Yeah, I learned from an artist. I think Marjolaine had a really cool like statement on her wall with her art. And one show I thought, oh, that's so smart, because that one little thing. So I actually did like this one small little thing. It takes up room in my booth or whatever, but it just says like it's 1 5-word statement about my work. And I stick that close to my book and close to my area where people can see when they're walking by my booth.
We just had a question on payment methods. So
Okay.
Most people use Square. So obviously you can process your credit cards through the Artist Network, and we take the 5% admin fee, which is basically just covers the cost of the Artist Network fees that they're charged. But with Square today, it's really easy to actually set up your own account with Square or Stripe. Square is great because you get the credit card reader. They have to put in their code, so you're pretty much guaranteed you're going to get paid for that. I also have e-transfer. I'll get people to e-transfer the funds and then they wander around, and when I can see that it clears, then I'll release the piece. Cash is always good. So again, you kind of need to figure that out ahead of time. If you do take cash, it's always good to have some sort of a kitty if you need to make change. I always forget to do that, but that's what you should do.
And if you need the Artist Network to process payments on your behalf, you just bring the customer with you to the Artist Network booth and we can process the payments there. Were there any other questions about payments or?
Well, someone's asking here about where can you go get Square readers. So you can buy them online, but you can also go to Best Buy and stores like that do sell them. But I just want to say that they were out of stock. So out of stock everywhere, like you had to order them online and the online ordering was delayed. So if you don't have a Square reader and that's how you want to progress or process your fees or payments, you can go ahead and I would say you should be ordering that now. Like get on there tomorrow or the next day and get online and look for them, make some calls. Maybe they got delivered. But when Riverdale was around, I couldn't order any extra ones for people.
And you couldn't order them online either. It was a 6-week delay.
Yeah, it was about 6 weeks. So I'd say you want to do that sooner than later.
So the other thing that's really critical is every single artist needs to have their guest book, which actually you'll be able to collect names and email addresses. And that's really your goal. As much as you can do, Facebook and Instagram, we've seen recently how the algorithm changes and you lose your audience. Your database and your newsletter database of email addresses is yours and you own it, and it's worth a lot. Angela mentioned that earlier. It also allows you after the show to do a follow-up to kind of say, it was great to meet you. Thank you so much. If there's something in the show that you saw, please reach out to me and I'd be happy to deliver it or do a commission or whatever your phrases are. So the after the show follow-up is also really important because that's often where the sales happen, especially for larger pieces. People need time to think about stuff. They want to follow up. They probably took a card. Maybe they lost the card. This way they've got your email that's kind of in their email inbox and they can follow up for you.
All
So
right.
the other part that's really important, please make sure you fill in your post-event survey. It's really, really important to us, and it's really helpful for us to be able to kind of continue to hone these events and make them better and better every year for artists. But if we don't hear your feedback, then we're kind of working in a bit of an echo chamber. And so it's really valuable especially for first-time artists to kind of know, how can we improve? How can we make things better for you? How can we make the process easier for you?
And that's everything, I think, unless we have any other questions at this point. Any questions?
That means everybody's an expert.
Perfect.
We will all sell out our booth.
Perfect. All right. So like we said, this orientation was recorded and we'll upload it to the YouTube channel. I will send that link out as soon as it is uploaded and available for you if you just want to rewatch it, or I know some people weren't able to make it. And there are the past orientations, the Eventini, detailed Eventini orientations. It's all on the YouTube channel. Please look at the handbook. There's lots of information in there for you. I sent it out in an email. There's the password artists 2022 to get into the handbook, but everything is in there. You can download everything, all the files, images, all of that is easy for you to access.
Yeah, and just another note about the handbook, it does get added to. So like when we have the final map, it'll be on there. When your booth number's on there, when the run order, when the load-in schedule is done, it'll get uploaded in there. So it's your go-to spot.
Yeah. And I usually send a note out when I upload new items to it. So I'll send an email through or a message through Eventini saying, hey, this was just uploaded to the handbook. Go and have a look there. And if you have any questions, usually you can find it in the handbook, but otherwise you can email me as well. It's artwalk@artistnetwork.ca. All right. I think that's it.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Everybody.
If you have any questions, let me know, but hopefully this was very helpful for you all. We're looking forward to the show. All right, I'm going to stop sharing.